If my life were made into a movie, should a white or white passing woman be allowed to play me? Would I be considered better looking and therefore more worthy of opportunity in the media field if I was more Eurocentric looking? The term whitewashing refers to a fairly common practice in the media in which white actors are cast to play non white character roles that are scripted for non white characters. This can also mean to make something more acceptable for white audiences. This term, however, can also apply to non black ethnic actors who take roles that were either written to be actual black people or that take the mannerisms and characteristics of black people and slap them onto non black people. An example of this would be the actress Awkwafina, also known as Nora Lum. She had her first breakout role in the 2018 movie Ocean's 8 as Constance, a street scam artist. Her black scent was very mild here, but it came out full on in the 2018 movie Crazy Rich Asians, where she played Paik Lin Go, a close friend to the main character. Many people in the black community were outraged by this because they felt that it was not only culture appropriation, but whitewashing as well, because people were calling her the next Tiffany Haddish, an actual black actress. This isn't the only time where this has happened either, of course. This happened in the Nina Simone biopic starring Zoe Saldana, a Dominican actress who is of lighter skin complexion. The most recent example I can think of would be the movie The Hate U Give. The description of the movie is as follows. Star Carter is constantly switching between two worlds, the poor, mostly black neighborhood where she lives, and the wealthy, mostly white prep school that she attends. The uneasy balance between these worlds is soon shattered when she witnesses the fatal shooting of her childhood best friend at the hands of a police officer. Facing pressure from all sides of the community, Star must find her voice and decide to stand up for what's right. Now, this doesn't sound too bad except for the fact that I've read the book that the movie was based on, and it describes Star as a dark-skinned girl, and I presume she would have 4A to 4C curly hair like mine, based on the book cover. In the movie, she is played by Amanda Lestenberg, a light-skinned black woman. I tried digging up screenshots of the discussions people had about this, and I can't find them, but essentially they were asking author Angie Thomas why they casted Amanda instead of an actual dark-skinned person, and she essentially brushed it off and said she had no control over it. However, the illustrator of the book told online publication Colorlines, I wasn't exactly thrilled because of the colorism in Hollywood and everything. I was hoping it would be a very brown-skinned actress because there's so little opportunities in these big movies for darker-skinned actresses. I can't fudge, that's how I felt. This also happened in TV shows as well as when the original Aunt Vivian on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Janet Hubert, was replaced with a lighter-skinned actress, Daphne Maxwell Reid. This seemed odd because the producers thought we wouldn't notice these two completely different looking women. The original Aunt Viv was a dark-skinned woman who looked visibly different than Daphne Maxwell Reid, who was a lighter-skinned actress. A lot of people said that this was probably the outcome or the result of colorism. Colorism is prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. It also includes attitudes and beliefs that blacks are more attractive and more intelligent when their hair textures and facial features resemble more closely that of whites rather than the typical Afrotypic look, according to Russell, Midge, and Ronald, authors of The Color Complex. This is probably because black people have been represented in the media more to make organizations and companies seem more diverse and inclusive, but they pick safe black people. Darker skinned people are not represented in the media as much as their lighter skinned counterparts. Usually they pick people no darker than a brown paper bag with long hair that is curly but not too kinky, and always conventionally attractive with Eurocentric features. This is to appeal to both white and people of color by casting racially ambiguous looking people or people who fit the stereotypes of what white people think black people should look like. Whitewashing and colorism even happen in print media with fashion magazines and advertisements. In an academic journal written by Lily M. Fears, a study was conducted. The study sampled 3 different publications: Jet, the only weekly black news magazine whose audience was more than 90% black; Newsweek, one of the leading national newspapers whose audience was predominantly white; and the New York Times, a daily newspaper whose audience was more than 80% white. The sample was drawn so as to include issues from the years 1965, 1975, 1985, and 1995. These years were chosen as so to encompass the time periods when black women, unlike white women, had finally begun to appear in periodicals on a regular basis. This contribution can be credited in large part to publisher John H. Johnson with the introduction of Ebony in 1945 and Jet in 1950. The study concluded that typically Eurocentric looking black models are more popular than typically Afrocentric looking black models. Even when dark-skinned African Americans are represented in the media, there's sometimes a fetishization element because they're either oiled up and half naked with perfect bodies, or they're a token black person in a group of lighter skinned or non-black people. So why should anyone care about all of this? Because it's a diversity issue. If African Americans can be selectively represented in this way, it could happen to other marginalized groups as well. It is important for allies to speak up and advocate for this underrepresentation. It is also important for allies to allow black people in predominantly white spaces, such as media, and for black people who are of lighter complexion, who have Eurocentric features, to advocate for darker skinned, visibly black people. This is also important because it doesn't just prohibit African Americans from getting careers in media, especially in front of the camera, but it can also affect personal lives as well, because the lack of proper African American media representation can be discouraging and polarizing. When I was younger, I didn't see a lot of girls who looked like me in TV shows and magazines and things like that. So this is why it's important for this representation to be positive and to be fair.